Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaudapani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Ashtachadeshatarine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaudapani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Ashtachadeshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Kyoda Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Hari Bol.
Krishna Prabhu, good to hear you.
Hare Krishna. Nice to see you rocking out to the kirtan.
Oh yeah, it
At
was.
least it looked like it when you were
Out.
walking.
Yeah, it was sunny there. Here's my friend Jagannath.
Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
He's a brahmachari here at RBC. Yeah.
Nice to
How
see
are
you,
you?
Babaji.
Nice to see you too.
I'm going to simultaneously clean up for the feast and hear Srimad Bhagavatam.
Wonderful. All
Anyway.
glories to your service.
All glories to you too, Prabhu.
Jai. Yeah. We also have Kalaji here. Hari Bol Babaji. And so grateful you guys are here. Sorry, a little bit late. Sunday program was going on. It was nice. Devotees from Columbus came. Did some rockin' kirtan. Some sumptuous prasadam. Some nectarian lectures. Hare Krishna. Okay, today I'm going to start on Canto 1, Chapter 5, Text 29. And I'm kind of like super tired today. So any and all discussion points would be very much appreciated. If anybody wants to share or anything. Okay, so 1:5:29. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam namaskritya narang chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudírayat. Shrinvatam swakata Krishna punya shravana kirtanaha. Hridyantasto yabhadrani vidunoti sahrit satam. Ashtaprayashvabhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavat yuttama shloke. Bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. Alright. The nectar continues. Text 29. Tasyaivam me nuraktasya prashritasya hatainasaha sharadhanasya balasya dantasya anucharasya cha. I was very much attached to those sages. I was gentle in behavior, and all my sins were eradicated in their service. In my heart, I had strong faith in them. I had subjugated the senses, and I was strictly following them with body and mind. Purport. These are the necessary qualifications of a prospective candidate who can expect to be elevated to the position of a pure, unadulterated devotee. Such a candidate must always seek the association of pure devotees. One should not be misled by a pseudo-devotee. He himself must be plain and gentle to receive the instructions of such a pure devotee. A pure devotee is a completely surrendered soul unto the personality of Godhead. He knows the personality of Godhead as the supreme proprietor of all, and all others as his servitors. And by the association of pure devotees only, one can get rid of all sins accumulated by mundane association. A neophyte devotee must faithfully serve the pure devotee, and he should be very much obedient and strictly follow the instructions. These are the signs of a devotee who is determined to achieve success even in the existing duration of life. Jnanam guyatamam yat tat Chakshar Bhagavatoditam Anvavochan Gamishyanta Kripaya Dina Vatsalaha. As they were leaving, those Bhakti Vedantas, who are very kind to poor-hearted souls, instructed me in that most confidential subject which is instructed by the personality of Godhead himself. Purport. A pure Vedantist, or Bhakti Vedanta, instructs followers exactly according to the instructions of the Lord himself. The personality of Godhead, both in the Bhagavad Gita and in all other scriptures, has definitely instructed men to follow the Lord only. The Lord is the creator, maintainer, and annihilator of everything. The whole manifested creation is existing by his will, and by his will, when the whole show is finished, he will remain in his eternal abode with all his paraphernalia. Before the creation, he was there in the eternal abode, and after the annihilation, he will continue to remain. He is not, therefore, one of the created beings. He is transcendental. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that long, long before the instruction was imparted to Arjuna, the same was instructed to the sun god. And in course of time, the same instruction, being wrongly handled and being broken, was again instructed to Arjuna because he was his perfect devotee and friend. Therefore, the instruction of the Lord can be understood by the devotees only and no one else. The impersonalist, who has no idea of the transcendental form of the Lord, cannot understand this most confidential message of the Lord. The expression most confidential is significant here because knowledge of devotional service is far, far above knowledge of impersonal Brahman. Jnana means ordinary knowledge or any branch of knowledge. This knowledge develops up to the knowledge of impersonal Brahman. Above this, when it is partially mixed with devotion, such knowledge develops to knowledge of Paramatma, or the all-pervading Godhead. This is more confidential, but when such knowledge is turned into pure devotional service and the confidential part of transcendental knowledge is attained, it is called the most confidential knowledge. This most confidential knowledge was imparted by the Lord to Brahma, Arjuna, Uddhava, and so on. Enaivaham bhagavato vasudevasya vedasaha mayanubhavam avidam yena gacchanti tatparam. By that confidential knowledge, I could understand clearly the influence of the energy of Lord Sri Krishna, the creator, maintainer, and annihilator of everything. By knowing that, one can return to him and personally meet him. Purport. By devotional service or by the most confidential knowledge, one can understand very easily how the different energies of the Lord are working. One part of energy is manifesting the material world, the other, superior part of his energy is manifesting the spiritual world. And the via medium energy is manifesting the living entities who are serving either of the above mentioned energies. The living entities serving material energy are struggling hard for existence and happiness, which is presented to them as illusion. But those in the spiritual energy are placed under the direct service of the Lord in eternal life, complete knowledge, and perpetual bliss. The Lord desires, as he has directly said in the Bhagavad Gita, that all conditioned souls rotting in the kingdom of material energy come back to him by giving up all engagements in the material world. This is the most confidential part of knowledge, but this can be understood only by the pure devotees, and only such devotees enter the kingdom of God to see him personally and serve him personally. The concrete example is Narada himself, who attained this stage of eternal knowledge and eternal bliss. And the ways and means are open to all, provided one agrees to follow in the footsteps of Sri Narada Muni. According to Shruti, Supreme Lord has unlimited energies without effort by him. And these are described under three principal headings as above mentioned. Itat sangshu chitam brahmans tapaktra chikitsatam yadishvare bhagavati karma brahmani bhavitam. O Brahman Vyasadeva, it is decided by the learned that the best remedial measure for removing all troubles and miseries is to dedicate one's activities to the service of the Supreme Lord Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Purport. Sri Narada Muni personally experienced that the most feasible and practical way to open the path of salvation or get relief from all miseries of life is to hear submissively the transcendental activities of the Lord from the right and bona fide sources. This is the only remedial process. The entire material existence is full of miseries. Foolish people have manufactured out of their tiny brains many remedial measures for removing the threefold miseries pertaining to the body, the mind, pertaining to the natural disturbances, and in relation with other living beings. The whole world is struggling very hard to exist out of these miseries, but men do not know that without the sanction of the Lord, no plan or no remedial measure can actually bring about the desired peace and tranquility. The remedial measure to cure a patient by medical treatment is useless if it is not sanctioned by the Lord. To cross the river or the ocean by a suitable boat is no remedial measure if it is not sanctioned by the Lord. We should know for certain that the Lord is the ultimate sanctioning officer, and we must therefore dedicate our attempts to the mercy of the Lord for ultimate success or to get rid of the obstacles on the path of success. The Lord is all-pervading, all-powerful, omniscient, and omnipresent. He is the ultimate sanctioning agent of all good or bad effects. We should therefore learn to dedicate our activities unto the mercy of the Lord and accept him either as impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It does not matter what one is. One must dedicate everything in the service of the Lord. If one is a learned scholar, scientist, philosopher, poet, and so on, then he should employ his learning to establish the supremacy of the Lord. Try to study the energy of the Lord in every sphere of life. Do not decry him and try to become like him or take his position simply by fragmental accumulation of knowledge. If one is an administrator, statesman, warrior, politician, and so on, then one should try to establish the Lord's supremacy in statesmanship. Fight for the cause of the Lord as Sri Arjuna did. In the beginning, Sri Arjuna, the great fighter, declined to fight, but when he was convinced by the Lord that the fighting was necessary, Sri Arjuna changed his decision and fought for his cause. Similarly, if one is a businessman, an industrialist, an agriculturalist, and so on, then one should spend his hard-earned money for the cause of the Lord. Think always that the money which is accumulated is the wealth of the Lord. Wealth is considered to be the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi. And the Lord is Narayan, or the husband of Lakshmi. Try to engage Lakshmi in the service of Lord Narayan and be happy. That is the way to realize the Lord in every sphere of life. The best thing is, after all, to get relief from all material activities and engage oneself completely in hearing the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. But in case of the absence of such an opportunity, one should try to engage in the service of the Lord, everything for which one has specific attraction, and that is the way of peace and prosperity. The word Sangshuchitam in this stanza is also significant. One should not think for a moment that the realization of Narada was childish imagination only. It is not like that. It is so realized by the expert and erudite scholars, and that is the real import of the word Sangshuchitam. Sangshuchitam, decided by the learned. Text 33. Amayo yascha bhutanam jayate yena suvrata tareva yamayam dravyam napunati chikitchitam. O good soul, does not a thing applied therapeutically cure disease which was caused by that very same thing? Purport. An expert physician treats his patient with a therapeutic diet. For example, milk preparations sometimes cause disorder of the bowels, but the very same milk converted into curd and mixed with some other remedial ingredients cures such disorders. Similarly, the threefold miseries of material existence cannot be mitigated simply by material activities. Such activities have to be spiritualized, just as by fire iron is made red hot, and thereby the action of fire begins. Similarly, the material conception of a thing is at once changed as soon as it is put into the service of the Lord. That is the secret of spiritual success. We should not try to lord it over the material nature, nor should we reject material things. The best way to make the best use of a bad bargain is to use everything in relation with the Supreme Spiritual Being. Everything is an emanation from the Supreme Spirit, and by his inconceivable power he can convert spirit into matter and matter into spirit. Therefore, a material thing, so-called, is at once turned into a spiritual force by the great will of the Lord. The necessary condition for such a change is to employ so-called matter in the service of the Spirit. That is the way to treat our material diseases and elevate ourselves to the spiritual plane, where there is no misery, no lamentation, and no fear. When everything is thus employed in the service of the Lord, we can experience that there is nothing except the Supreme Brahman. The Vedic mantra that everything is Brahman is thus realized by us. Text 34. Evam naranam kriya yoga sarve sangshutti hetavaha evatma vinashaya kalpante kalpitapare. Thus, when all a man's activities are dedicated to the service of the Lord, those very activities which caused his perpetual bondage become the destroyer of the tree of work. Purport. Fruitive work which has perpetually engaged the living being is compared to the banyan tree in the Bhagavad Gita, for it is certainly very deeply rooted. As long as the propensity for enjoying the fruit of work is there, one has to continue the transmigration of the soul from one body or place to another, according to one's nature of work. The propensity for enjoyment may be turned into the desire for serving the mission of the Lord. By doing so, one's activity is changed into karma yoga, or the way by which one can attain spiritual perfection while engaging in the work for which he has a natural tendency. Here the word Atma indicates the categories of all fruitive work. The conclusion is that when the result of all fruitive and other work is dovetailed with the service of the Lord, it will cease to generate further karma and will gradually develop into transcendental devotional service, which will not only cut off completely the root of the banyan tree of work, but will also carry the performer to the lotus feet of the Lord. The summary is that one has to, first of all, seek the association of pure devotees who not only are learned in the Vedanta, but are self-realized souls and unalloyed devotees of Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. In that association, the neophyte devotees must render loving service physically and mentally without reservation. This service attitude will induce the great souls to be more favorable in bestowing their mercy, which injects the neophyte with all the transcendental qualities of the pure devotees. Gradually, this is developed into a strong attachment to hearing the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, which makes him able to catch up the constitutional position of the gross and subtle bodies, and beyond them the knowledge of pure soul and his eternal relation with the Supreme Soul, the personality of Godhead. After the relation is ascertained by establishment of the eternal relation, pure devotional service to the Lord begins, gradually developing into perfect knowledge of the personality of Godhead, beyond the purview of impersonal Brahman and localized Paramatma. By such Purushottam Yoga, it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, one is made perfect even during the present corporeal existence, and one exhibits all the good qualities of the Lord to the highest percentage. Such is the gradual development by association of pure devotees. Hare Krishna. Anybody want to make a point or anything at this junction? I'm going to take a quick drink of water. Whew. Where were we? 635. Yadatra kriyate karma bhagavat paritoshanam jnanam yattaradinam hi bhakti yoga samanvitam. Whatever work is done here in this life for the satisfaction of the mission of the Lord is called bhakti yoga, or transcendental loving service to the Lord, and what is called knowledge becomes a concomitant factor. Purport. The general and popular notion is that by discharging fruitive work in terms of the direction of the scriptures, one becomes perfectly able to acquire transcendental knowledge for spiritual realization. Bhakti yoga is considered by some to be another form of karma, but factually Bhakti yoga is above both karma and jnana. Bhakti yoga is independent of jnana or karma. On the other hand, jnana and karma are dependent on bhakti yoga. Hi, Bo Bhaktasi. Nice to have you. One of my favorite hearers and chanters. Hare Krishna. Hey, Bo. Okay. Bhakti yoga is independent of jnana or karma. On the other hand, jnana and karma are dependent on bhakti yoga. This Kriya Yoga or Karma Yoga, as recommended by Sri Narada to Vyas, is specifically recommended because the principle is to satisfy the Lord. The Lord does not want his sons, the living beings, to suffer the threefold miseries of life. He desires that all of them come to him and live with him, but going back to Godhead means that one must purify himself from material infections. When work is performed, therefore, to satisfy the Lord, the performer becomes gradually purified from the material affection. This purification means attainment of spiritual knowledge. Therefore, knowledge is dependent on karma or work, done on behalf of the Lord. Other knowledge, being devoid of bhakti yoga or satisfaction of the Lord, cannot lead one back to the kingdom of God, which means that it cannot even offer salvation, as already explained in connection with the stanza Naiskarmyam apyachuta bhava varjitam. The conclusion is that a devotee engaged in the unalloyed service of the Lord, specifically in hearing and chanting of his transcendental glories, becomes simultaneously spiritually enlightened by the divine grace, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. I'm going to read that sentence again. The conclusion is that a devotee engaged in the unalloyed service of the Lord, specifically in hearing and chanting of his transcendental glories, becomes simultaneously spiritually enlightened by the divine grace, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Simultaneously spiritually enlightened by the divine grace. Karvana yatra karmani bhagavaschik shriya sakrit grananti gunanamani krishnashyanu smaranti cha. It's just funny hearing that. I mean, like you hear this, and then I don't know. To me, it was just funny to. It's just like so ecstatic to hear. Like, wow, how powerful bhakti yoga is. How powerful hearing and chanting, the glories of the Lord is. So
Yeah,
this
and
is
I can feel it too. I can feel the difference between being like not absorbed in Krishna consciousness and seva, and then the difference between that and reading and like hearing Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, all of it, and even chanting, of course, too.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when we're like at least really putting an effort, like doing all these things throughout the day. Every day, like just holding that steady for any amount of time is like that really gives like so much reciprocation. I remember like when I first moved into the temple, and it was like really experiencing chanting and chanting 16 rounds, doing everything, and I got like I just really was focused, and I remember I like didn't go to town for like several months. I just stayed doing my seva and doing the morning program and reading and whatever I was doing, focused. And then I remember like my first time going back to town, it was like wow, it was like completely amazing. The experience for me of I just was feeling the reciprocation from all the at least work I was trying, my attempts at practicing, and I've had several experiences like that where I'm like trying really hard, and then all of a sudden I'll be in a different situation or go to a different place or be in association with some different people or different devotees, and then just like seemingly randomly or after coming out of the place where I'm like really focused, then it's like, whoa, all this reciprocation comes, but it doesn't always come like when I'm there being focused. I don't know if anybody else can relate to that, but like the accumulated effect over time, and then periodically you get hit with it. Okay. Text 36. Kurvana yatra karmani bhagavaschikshaya sakrit prananti gunanamani krishnasya nusmaranti cha. While performing duties according to the order of Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one constantly remembers him, his names, and his qualities. Purport. An expert devotee of the Lord can mold his life in such a way that while performing all kinds of duties, either for this or the next life, he can constantly remember the Lord's name, fame, qualities, and so on. The order of the Lord is distinctly there in the Bhagavad Gita. One should work only for the Lord in all spheres of life. In every sphere of life, the Lord should be situated as the proprietor. According to the Vedic rites, even in the worship of some demigods like Indra, Brahma, Saraswati, and Ganesh, the system is that in all circumstances the representation of Vishnu must be there as Yagyeshvara, or the controlling power of such sacrifices. It is recommended that a particular demigod be worshipped for a particular purpose, but still the presence of Vishnu is compulsory in order to make the function proper. Apart from such Vedic duties, even in our ordinary dealings, for example, in our household affairs or in our business or profession, we must consider that the result of all activities must be given over to the Supreme Enjoyer, Lord Krishna. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord has declared himself to be the Supreme Enjoyer of everything, the Supreme Proprietor of every planet, and the Supreme Friend of all beings. No one else but Lord Sri Krishna can claim to be the proprietor of everything within his creation. A pure devotee remembers this constantly, and in doing so he repeats the transcendental name, fame, and qualities of the Lord, which means that he is constantly in touch with the Lord. The Lord is identical with his name, fame, and so on, and therefore to be associated with his name, fame, and so on constantly means actually to associate with the Lord. The major portion of our monetary income, not less than 50%, must be spent to carry out the order of Lord Krishna. Not only should we give the profit of our earning to this cause, but we must also arrange to preach this cult of devotion to others, because that is also one of the orders of the Lord. The Lord definitely says that no one is more dear to him than one who is always engaged in the preaching work of the Lord's name and fame all over the world. The scientific discoveries of the material world can also be equally engaged in carrying out his order. He wants the message of the Bhagavad Gita to be preached amongst his devotees. It may not be so done amongst those who have no credit of austerities, charity, education, and so on. Therefore, the attempt must go on to convert unwilling men to become his devotees. Lord Chaitanya has taught a very simple method in this connection. He has taught the lesson for preaching the transcendental message through singing, dancing, and refreshment. As such, 50% of our income may be spent for this purpose. Singing, dancing, and refreshment. In this fallen age of quarrel and dissension, if only the leading and wealthy persons of society agree to spend 50% of their income in the service of the Lord, as it is taught by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there is absolute certainty of converting this hell of pandemonium to the transcendental abode of the Lord. No one will disagree to partake in a function where good singing, dancing, and refreshment are administered. Everyone will attend such a function, and everyone is sure to feel individually the transcendental presence of the Lord. This alone will help the attendant associate with the Lord and thereby purify himself in spiritual realization. The only condition for successfully executing such spiritual activities is that they must be conducted under the guidance of a pure devotee who is completely free from all mundane desires, fruitive activities, and dry speculations about the nature of the Lord. No one has to discover the nature of the Lord. It is already spoken by the Lord himself in the Bhagavad Gita, especially, and in all other Vedic literatures generally. We have simply to accept them in toto and abide by the orders of the Lord. That will guide us to the path of perfection. One can remain in his own position. No one has to change his position, especially in this age of variegated difficulties. The only condition is that one must give up the habit of dry speculation aimed at becoming one with the Lord. And after giving up such lofty, puffed-up vanities, one may very submissively receive the orders of the Lord in the Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam from the lips of a bona fide devotee whose qualification is mentioned above. That will make everything successful without a doubt. All right, Krishna. Text
Well,
37.
text 37. Okay, good. Sorry.
No problem. What a purport that was. Maybe we'll come back to it. All right, text 37. Om Namo Bhagavate Tubhyam Vasudevaya Dhimahi Pradyumnaya Nirudhaya Nama Sankarshanaya Cha. Let us all chant the glories of Vasudeva along with his plenary expansions Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and Sankarshan. Purport. According to Pancharatra, Narayan is the primeval cause of all expansions of Godhead. These are Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. Vasudeva and Sankarshan are on the middle, left, and right. Pradyumna is on the right of Sankarshan, and Aniruddha is on the left of Vasudeva. And thus the four deities are situated. They are known as the four aides de camp of Lord Sri Krishna. This is a Vedic hymn or mantra beginning with Omkar Pranava, and thus the mantra is established by the transcendental chanting process, namely Om Namo Dhimahi, and so on. The purport is that any transaction, either in the field of fruitive work or in empiric philosophy, which is not ultimately aimed at transcendental realization of the Supreme Lord, is considered to be useless. Narada Ji has therefore explained the nature of unalloyed devotional service by his personal experience in the development of intimacy between the Lord and the living entity by a gradual process of progressive devotional activities. Such a progressive march of transcendental devotion for the Lord culminates in the attainment of loving service of the Lord, which is called prema in different transcendental variegatedness called rasas, tastes. Such devotional service is also executed in mixed forms, namely mixed with fruitive work or empiric philosophical speculations. Now the question which was raised by the great rishis headed by Shaunaka regarding the confidential part of Sutta's achievement through the spiritual master is explained herein by the chanting of this hymn consisting of 33 letters. And this mantra is addressed to the four deities, or the Lord with his plenary expansions. The central figure is Lord Sri Krishna because the plenary portions are his aides de camp. The most confidential part of the instruction is that one should always chant and remember the glories of the Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, along with his different plenary portions expanded as Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. These expansions are the original deities for all other truths, namely either Vishnu Tattva or Shakti Tattvas. Iti murtya vidhanena mantramurtim amurtikam yajate yagya purusham sasamyag darshana puman.
Cool.
Yes?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So in the purport, the previous one, it's talking about aides de camp. Can you kind of explain that? What, like, they're
Well,
his helpers, or
to be honest with you, I mean, I have to look it up. I think it's a saying. I suspect it being French, but I could be wrong. The way I understand it is like, yeah, like Lord Nityananda and Haridas Thakur were described as two chief whips of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan army. I don't know. Maybe somebody can look it up, or if nobody can, then once I finish, I'm gonna actually just look. I can look it up while I'm on the call.
I
And
looked it up probably.
oh, you did?
Yeah, it says an aides de camp is a commissioned officer serving as a personal assistant, secretary, and aide to a senior military officer, government official, or head of state. So I think it's like that was a nice definition or nice way to put it, where you're saying about the Panchatattva and how they're assisting.
Right. Does it say where that's from? Is that from the French language? Is that French, or is it just something else.
Okay, furthering my research here beyond the AI generated version.
Hmm.
French aide de camp, literally camp assistant. First known use 1670. Yeah,
Thank you, Prabhuji.
thank you.
Aids de camp. Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Okay. Where were we?
38.
Okay. Yeah, I'll read a little more. Not too much. Okay, text 38. Iti mortya vidanena mantramurtim amurtikam yajate yagya purusham sasamyag darshana puman. Thus he is the actual seer who worships in the form of transcendental sound representation, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu, who has no material form. Purport. Our present senses are all made of material elements, and therefore they are imperfect in realizing the transcendental form of Lord Vishnu. He is therefore worshipped by sound representation via the transcendental method of chanting. Anything which is beyond the scope of experience by our imperfect senses can be realized fully by the sound representation. A person transmitting sound from a far distant place can be factually experienced. If this is materially possible, why not spiritually? This experience is not a vague, impersonal experience. It is actually an experience of the transcendental personality of Godhead who possesses the pure form of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. In the Amar Kosh Sanskrit dictionary, the word murti carries an import in twofold meanings, namely form and difficulty. Therefore, amurtikam is explained by Acharya Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur as meaning without difficulty. The transcendental form of eternal bliss and knowledge can be experienced by our original spiritual senses, which can be revived by chanting of the holy mantras or transcendental sound representations. Such sound should be received from the transparent agency of the bona fide spiritual master, and the chanting may be practiced by the direction of the spiritual master. That will gradually lead us nearer to the Lord. This method of worship is recommended in the Pancharatrika system, which is both recognized and authorized. The Pancharatrika system has the most authorized codes for transcendental devotional service. Without the help of such codes, one cannot approach the Lord, certainly not by dry philosophical speculation. The Pancharatrika system is both practical and suitable for this age of quarrel. The Pancharatra is more important than the Vedanta for this modern age. Alright, last verse. Imam svanegamam brahman avidyamaranushtatam adan me jnanam aishvaryam swasmin bhavam jakeshavaha. O Brahman, thus by the Supreme Lord Krishna, I was endowed first with the transcendental knowledge of the Lord as inculcated in the confidential parts of the Vedas, then with the spiritual opulences, and then with his intimate loving service. Purport. Communion with the Lord by transmission of the transcendental sound is non-different from the whole Spirit, Lord Sri Krishna. It is a completely perfect method for approaching the Lord. By such pure contact with the Lord, without offense of material conceptions, numbering 10, the devotee can rise above the material plane to understand the inner meaning of the Vedic literatures, including the Lord's existence in the transcendental realm. The Lord reveals his identity gradually to one who has unflinching faith both in the spiritual master and in the Lord. After this, the devotee is endowed with mystic opulences, which are 8 in number. And above all, the devotee is accepted in the confidential entourage of the Lord and is entrusted with specific service of the Lord through the agency of the spiritual master. A pure devotee is more interested in serving the Lord than in showing an exhibition of the mystic powers dormant in him. Sri Narada has explained all these from his personal experience, and one can obtain all the facilities which Sri Narada obtained by perfecting the chanting process of the sound representation of the Lord. There is no bar for chanting this transcendental sound by anyone, provided it is received through Narada's representative, coming down by the chain of disciplic succession or the parampara system. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Granthara
Jai.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai.
Wait a minute. Hold up.
You could read one more and finish the chapter.
Yeah, I just saw that. Yes. Okay. Text 40. Tvamapya dabra shruta vishrutam vibho samapyate yena vidam babutsatam prakyahi dukhar mahur ardatatmanam sanglesha nirvana mushanti nanyata. Please, therefore, describe the Almighty Lord's activities which you have learned by your vast knowledge of the Vedas. For that will satisfy the hankerings of great learned men and at the same time mitigate the miseries of the masses of common people who are always suffering from material pangs. Indeed, there is no other way to get out of such miseries. Purport. Sri Narada Muni, from practical experience, definitely asserts that the prime solution of all problems of material work is to broadcast very widely the transcendental glories of the Supreme Lord. There are 4 classes of good men, and there are 4 classes of bad men also. The 4 classes of good men acknowledge the authority of the Almighty God, and therefore such men, when they are in difficulty, when they are in need of money, when they are advanced in knowledge, and when they are inquisitive to know more and more about God, intuitively take shelter of the Lord. As such, Naradaji advises Vyasadeva to broadcast the transcendental knowledge of God in terms of the vast Vedic knowledge which he had already attained. As far as the bad men are concerned, they are also 4 in number. Those who are simply addicted to the mode of progressive fruitive work and thus are subjected to the accompanying miseries. Those who are simply addicted to vicious work for sense satisfaction and so suffer the consequence. Those who are materially very much advanced in knowledge but who suffer because they do not have the sense to acknowledge the authority of the Almighty Lord. And the class of men who are known as atheists and who therefore purposely hate the very name of God, although they are always in difficulty. Sri Naradaji advised Vyasadeva to describe the glories of the Lord just to do good to all 8 classes of men, both good and bad. Srimad Bhagavatam is therefore not meant for any particular class of men or sect. It is for the sincere soul who actually wants his own welfare and peace of mind. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 1st canto, 5th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Narada's Instructions on Srimad Bhagavatam for Vyasadeva. Hari Bol.
Oh.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gacchā Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Sri Narada Muni ki jai, Gaur Premanande. Whew. Hare Krishna. There you have it.
Do you have time for a question?
Oh yeah.
Can you just say a little bit about I get confused between like what Shruti and what Shmiti.
That's been a while. I mean, my understanding is Shruti, Smriti, Purana, the Shrutis and the Smritis. Well, my basic understanding is like that what's like Shastra and then like about Shastra or like what's spoken, you know, like my understanding, like for example, Srimad Bhagavatam would be like Shruti, I believe, and then like the Puranas or the supplementary like assisting like text are like Smriti, if that makes sense. I have heard that. Um, Yeah, right now the only thing that's really coming to mind is like one is like direct Shastric text, and the other is like the realization of it and like supplementary to it, if that makes sense. Honestly, I'll have to look it up to get a more clear, better response for you. What do you have anything you've heard about it?
I was kind of thinking what you've already said, but that's about the extent of my knowledge on it.
Yeah, me too. I'm gonna look
I
it
could
up
do a
though.
database search or a Vani
Yeah,
quote
if you
search.
want. I got nothing but time. Uh, I'm just kind of like a little bit out of it. My all eyeballs feel like they're like I don't even know how they're remaining in the sockets. Want to share anything, Kala? Oh, just drinking it in.
Hare Krishna. Grateful to be here. The points that were made earlier too, where it was brought up about Panchatattva and then their accessory elements of like bringing um, the Vaishnava practice and Sampradaya and Bhakti, and again bringing Sankirtan and these things. Um, that almost reminded me a little bit of how you were describing Shriti, Shmiti, right? Like uh like an accessory thing that's like augmenting it some, you know, whereas something is like directly it and then something else is uh backing it with strength, you know.
Right. Making accessible
Yeah.
more so. Yeah, that's a nice observation. Yeah.
No, I'm grateful for all the association and grateful to be here. So Haribo.
Thanks, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, I mean, these last 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 chapters, God, man, they have to be, might be my favorite.
Yeah, well,
Uh,
quick interjection, Prabhuji, that we had been speaking pretty much daily after readings or before readings and discussing things in life. And it was just so amazing that some of the things we were talking about, just like anytime we open Gita or Bhagavatam, the answers are there. And it applied so directly to some of the things that we were speaking about. Like each day we'd be speaking about something and it came up in the next day in the reading. So thank you for your seva in this way.
yeah, it's a nice point. We're experiencing, especially when you're reading, Prabhupada's books every day. It's uncanny how, what comes up in the readings is directly connected to whatever you're going through in life. It's amazing. And it goes back to this point of like, somebody asked Prabhupada, like, what are you going to do? What's going to happen whenever you die or whatever? He said, I will never die. I will live forever in my books. And so, like, actually, like the personalities, Srila Prabhupada, all personalities, Lord Sri Krishna, they're actually like living in the Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. And like we're activating, um, like transcendental connection by hearing transcendental sound, just like one of those last purports we heard. Just by hearing the sound representation, it's non-different. It's pretty amazing. Just like they say, like the depictions of the Lord's pastimes that are like the paintings are considered to be like windows into the spiritual world. It's just a matter of like your vision and being able to perceive it. But they are. you know, and like in a similar way, like Srila Prabhupada's books, especially Srimad Bhagavatam right here, it's like a window or a door that you access through, you know, the hearing process of transcendental sound. It's just amazing. So anyway, in that way, it's like, um, you know, whatever we're going through, whatever we're experiencing. I mean, as a person, I've spent, you know, a good amount of time like reading regularly, you know, like daily, and every time it's usually it's almost never a day where there's something that's not really personally applicable to my personal situation and others I've observed. Yeah. Like one of the first purport, I think it was the first purport we read today. We started on text 29. Man, it was like really intense. I was getting a glimpse into like deeper Krishna consciousness, at least for myself, because of just Prabhupada's mood of just how focused on the Lord, and it's like I think about this like I don't know if it's a whole stanza, but this line in our Guru Vandana. Arna Kariho Mane Asha, the second line in the second stanza, I think it is. And my understanding of that line is that it basically means like I don't even consider any other desire. All the other desires, you just throw them out. And I was really feeling and experiencing exactly that in that purport that we read. I was actually really like seeing that and feeling that, like Prabhupada was telling me, showing me. You know, Krishna consciousness. Sometimes we might think it's hard, or you know, like a certain level we're just not on, which may be true to some degree. But you know, if we have enough desire, you know, we can choose it, and we can just, you know, like I've had enough of worrying about this and that, and just throw it out. You know, throw it out and don't even look back, and just you know, that mood of just like, you know, really running towards Krishna, you know. So that was nice to hear. Any other points? Jackesha Prabhu, were you looking something up still, or I wasn't clear if you were doing that later.
Yeah, I found something from Srila Prabhupada's lecture about it in London, July 28th, 1973. He says, Smriti means authorized books written in accordance to the Shruti. Shruti, Smriti. Just like Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is not directly Vedas, but all the stanzas of Bhagavad Gita, they're strictly according to the Nyaya Prasthana and Shruti Prasthana. So any book which is strictly written according to the Vedas and Vedantas, that is also accepted as Vedic literature.
Mm,
So yeah, Shruti means Veda, and Smriti means corollary to the Veda, or things which are written in corroboration with the Vedic ideas. That is Smriti.
nice.
So Bhagavad Gita is Smriti.
Very nice. Smriti, though, the way I remember that is like, uh, you know, we have um, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, like Smaranam is like remembrance, and Smriti, it like kind of helps you like remember the Shruti.
Mm, yeah,
I don't know, that might
that's
not be
nice.
the best thing, but that'll help me remember which one's which.
Yeah, Smriti means memory, and okay, yeah, and then he says swapa means sleep. This is just from the purport of 32630.
Hmm.
So yeah, nice.
Yeah, thank you for looking that up, Prabhuji. Very nice. Well, is there any other points here, or we might wind it up? Very grateful for the association.
I was just going to say, same. Grateful for the association.
Jai.
Sharing. Yeah. Love you, Prabhujis. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Mm.
Mancha kalpa tarubhishcha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha anantakoti vaishnavrinda ki jai.
Hey.
Alright, Prabhujis. Catch you next time. Thanks for tuning in. It's always nice to have your association. Prabhuji, Jai Keshav, Prabhuji. And yeah, we'll be in touch.
Gauranga.
Hare Krishna.